Welcome to Living a Full Life podcast. Join us as we explore health topics that encourage raising healthy children, living a healthy life, and living the best life possible. Now, here's your host.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Enrico Dolcecore, and welcome to another episode of Living a Full Life. This week, we're going to be talking about stress. It's a big one, and there's many different types of stress. Well, actually, there's 4 to be exact. And we see it every single day in our office, and you probably see it every single day from the people around you and even through your own life, that stress has many different effects on how you act, feel, and function every moment of your life. But what is stress? Stress in science is a term used to define any change into anything. It can be any change into a physical object. It can be any change into a chemical reaction. It can be change into any type of mental emotion as well. So stress is a vector. It is used in mathematics. It's used in science. It's used in chemistry. But for us, physiologically, stress means anything that causes a strain. Now, there's positive and negative stresses. And we usually forget about the positive stresses. But there are negative stresses that affect us, and then there's positive stresses that we can choose to do that stimulate some type of physiological change for the better. A perfect example is exercise. Lifting a weight repetitively helps put a lot of stress onto the muscle fibers in that muscle or muscles, but the outcome is that muscle will grow back stronger and have more endurance. So that's a stress that we choose to do physically onto a muscle that has a positive outcome. The outcome is better strength, better endurance, better blood flow to the area, positive things that come through exercise. A negative physical stress would be putting yourself in a repetitive motion. Maybe let's use the exact same muscle that you were working out, but maybe you're a carpenter and all you do all day is hammer nails and use your arms, and the muscle is now under a negative stress because instead of the 3 sets of 10 reps that you were doing with the 25-pound barbell, you are now doing 2,500 repetitions of twisting your arm to screw in a screw or to repetitively hit nails into wood. So the negative stresses can break down muscle tissue, and the positive stresses can help build up. And that's what stress really is it can be a positive and a negative, but there's 4 types. We just described physical stress. There is emotional stress, which we used to call just mental stress, but there's emotional stress which affects our emotions physiologically, and there's also mental stress. Just brain fatigue and brain stress and overusing the brain in a negative way instead of a positive way. A good example of mental stress, both positive and negative, is student life. Look at any university student or college student that you've met. Once they're going through the semester, there's a lot of positive stress on their brain where they're learning material at a very high rate at a certain pace, but then the negative stress comes during testing. Final exams, where it's all abrupt very quickly. Not only is there mental stress with that, there's emotional, chemical, and everything in students, but that's an example of positive mental stress. Positive mental stress is picking up any book and learning something new on your own pace and own time can be very therapeutic. That's a mental stress example. And the last one is chemical stress. And we felt chemical stress before, both positive and negative. If you've gone on a good week on a healthy diet, eating a low inflammatory diet, just of fruits, veggies, and protein, you've probably felt better than, Thanksgiving week, where you may have skipped the anti-inflammatory foods. But you also know what negative chemical stress can do to you as well. Getting into something and eating too much of it, whether it be sugar, alcohol, whatever it may be, and the effects that has dramatically on your body and quickly, and how quickly that can have an effect on your body. So there you go. That's stress. Stress is a strain that's either chosen or not chosen. Sometimes we don't choose these strains. And then there's three types of stresses too. There's acute stresses like final exams that happen quickly and they're about to come up next week, and it's a short-term thing, and once you get through it, that acute stress is gone. Same thing with sugar and alcohol. That's an acute stress that you choose to do in the moment. Then there's episodic stresses. Episodic stresses happen because of episodes. Final exams happen every semester, not just once and you're done forever. So those things are episodic. And then there's chronic stresses. I think chronic stresses are the ones that cause the global issues that we see in the healthcare industry of people being burnt out, fatigued, physiological changes, disease processes coming up from that. That's the one that we talk about in healthcare as far as stress, the chronic stresses. And remember, these are uncontrollable strains that we don't choose to have voluntarily. So stress physiologically really affects the nervous system. It affects our brain and central nervous system in all four categories: physical, chemical, emotional, and mental. All have an effect on our neurology. And whenever we impulse our neurology in any way, positive or negative, it has a direct outcome. And those outcomes can be symptomatic. They can change your physiology, which give you a type of noticeable change, either for the positive or negative. Typically for the negative, increased heart rate, decreased sleep quality, increased blood pressure, headaches, aches, body aches. You start to feel stress. And people say that, I keep my stress here. Most people point to their neck or their shoulders. But people feel like they feel stress anywhere. As a chiropractor, we work with the back and the spine, and so a lot of people do and are aware that their stress goes to their body. And it absolutely does. The literature supports that. We know that stress affects us physiologically and makes changes. So the point of this podcast today is not just to educate you on the facts of stress, but what you can do about stress. And unfortunately, you cannot change the outcome of the things that happen in your life. You just can't. And I joke when I mentor other chiropractors, I tell them, listen, you have to be a better psychologist than you do a chiropractor when you're helping people, because they're dealing with a lot of stress, physical, chemical, and emotional. And you need to listen to them. You need to get a good history, and you need to know their background and where these things have come from. There has been, on multiple occasions, at least two, in my entire career, where I have advised, now if I was right or wrong or in scope or out of scope for this, whatever, it was the best for the patient at that time, was I told them you really need to look into a divorce, just because of their background and where the stress was coming from. Now, one of them I didn't follow through with over the years because they had moved, and the other one I did, and they did get the divorce, and they continued being a patient, and boy, did their life change. They were a lot happier, and their stress went down, and they lost 40 pounds, and positive things happened there. I'm using an example of stress in a relationship that can affect your health, and this person was going to run into some major problems very quickly with their health if they didn't make a change. And there wasn't very many options except, getting away from the stress. It's like the example of getting away from the fire. I don't know if you've ever gone camping and had a bonfire. If you stand too close to the fire and you start complaining that your leg is hot, there's a quick solution to that. And sometimes our situations don't allow us to move away from the fire, and I understand that. But we have to be aware of those stresses and see what we can do. And if we can't step away because we're physically stuck in that position, is there any way we can sneak some water on that fire? Can we dampen the heat coming off of this thing somehow? And that's very difficult to do because sometimes you can't control the stress. Good or bad analogy, I don't know, but I hope you get the point with that. So stress plays a huge role. So my PSA is about, what can we do to manage stress? What can we do when we get into stressful situations? How do we be more aware of stress and not just ignore it? Culturally, we work. It's just the society that we're in. And, Europe, growing up, my parents are from Europe, so growing up, I always used to envy the European model, but honestly now, Europe is just the same. They work hard now as well. They've become very Western. They work 9 to 5. They work hard, play hard. It's culturally turning into very much like America. But when I was growing up, there used to be a thing called siestas, both in Italy and in Spain and in Greece, and they would just take a break in the middle of the day, literally take a break. I remember going back and forth between Italy and Greece as a kid growing up, and we'd visit all summer. We'd stay there for 2-3 months with my extended family. And as a kid from Canada, I'd be over there and wanting to play. It'd be hot because we'd be in the summer. And then at 1 o'clock, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go down to the store and get like an ice cream. Or I'm going to go down to the store and get some water. And they'll be like, no, it's closed. Like, what do you mean it's closed? The store is closed. The banks are closed. The convenience stores are closed. Maybe the supermarket, the grocery store might be open a ways away. That was open. And of course there was taxis and, police and everything was still working, but things were closed, almost like nighttime. And I was bad for 2 hours, typically 2 from 1 to 3, or from maybe even 1 to 4. And 2 reasons for that. One, for the heat of the day in the Mediterranean, it's too hot, I'm going to go sleep. And number 2, it's like, I'm going to take a break. I was here at 6 in the morning, getting everything ready. At 1 o'clock, I'm going to go home, eat something, take a snooze, or just relax for a couple hours, and then I'm going to head back to work and finish off the day till 6, or whatever the day was. It makes sense, right? They were breaking their day up from a long, continuous, stressful process. That made sense. Then the siesta, I don't know. Any Spanish people listening right now, do you guys still do that over there? I'm not sure. Every time I visited recently, it looks like the siesta is now gone. But what a great idea to just take a break. And the point of this is to get up and actually take a 5-minute break from what you're doing. Because mentally, we put a lot of focus into what we do. People always ask me in the office, how do you love your job? Because their kids are coming in, getting adjusted, and we're trying to be a positive role model for them. And they ask, how do you like being a chiropractor? And I do say I love it, and I do love it. I absolutely do. And I think about the stressful parts of my job, and it's physical. I'm up all day on my feet, helping people physically with my hands, like a carpenter building a bookshelf or a cabinet. I'm doing that all day too, and I don't give myself the credit because at the end of the day, I don't have a cabinet to look at that's been designed and carved beautifully. I'm done for the day. Patients have gone home, and I forget I physically used my body to help people with their day. And that's the stress that comes with that. And I need to take breaks too, so I do that. It's not a siesta. I don't take a siesta, but I do shift my day into shifts. So I have a morning shift and an afternoon shift on purpose because you can't continuously go all day doing something physical for very long. You'll start to feel it. So that's an example there too. And the same thing if you work at a desk. You cannot sit there and use your brain energy for 8 continuous hours. You really can't. And these little 40-minute breaks that we take to scarf something down and drink some water and get back is not good enough. You really need, if you feel stress, the best advice, especially in an office setting, is to just get up and move away for 5 minutes. Thank goodness we have bladders and bowel movements that make us do it, but some of you don't even drink enough water. You barely go to the bathroom, so you don't get enough breaks. So a great thing to do is just, definitely drink a lot of water and take those breaks, even if it's 5 minutes. Those can break up chronic stress quite well. So I've got 10 things for you today. I mean, if we're talking about stress, this isn't going to be the 3 top things you can do to help yourself with stress, because this list could honestly be 100 things that you can do to help yourself with stress. But these, through the literature and over the years and physical and personal experience, I think these are the 10 best maybe top 10 things that you could do to help manage stress and should do. And they're not difficult. And these, again, are in no particular order, but they are very important. The number one thing you can do with stress, and I've done this personally, is get professional help. Mental health has been something that has been taboo for forever. If you think about our grandparents' generation after the war, or during World War II and after World War II, and then the baby boomers. I'm old. My parents are baby boomers, but these generations were taught to work hard. to go out there and get the American dream and just work hard. And if you work hard, everything's going to be great. Well, that didn't work out for everyone, but it did create a culture of working hard. And mental health was completely ignored all these years. It was like, no, come on, you're fine. Everyone was gaslighted. Everyone was ignored. And mental health was like a taboo. It was like, oh, come on, you're fine. There can't be any mental. You're fine. Just snap out of it. Get out of it. Well, it's not that easy, bozo. But now it's changed, and it's really good to see the psychology world step up into a wellness and preventative model of really being out there. Get professional help. Sometimes you got to bounce between therapists. There will be a good fit, and once you find them, they are worth their weight in gold. So I've used psychology for many, many years, and I use it on a preventative and wellness scale. And, my psychologist does a great job. She listens, and I just go there. And sometimes you wonder what you're paying for. You're like, I could have just, went and got a beer with a buddy and talked about this, but my buddy doesn't want to hear about these problems. And the psychologist doesn't mind getting paid to hear these problems. Let's just be honest. That's their job. And your psychologist has positive feedback and quick exercises or things you can do to help you navigate the current stresses that you're going through. So professional help, good professional help, is worth its weight in gold. So seek that out. Don't make that taboo. Take care of your mental health when it comes to that. Even if you have a stressful job or you feel stressed, moms, you've got like 3 full-time jobs. Like, people don't understand, mom life, single dads. I mean, you got full-time jobs too with just raising healthy kids. So get professional help. That's got to be the top of the list, right? Number 2 is, avoid stressors, alcohol, smoking, drugs. I know this sounds contrary, but it's the truth. These things that we dive into, sugar, alcohol, smoking, drugs, are habits that are created to try and get away from the stress. We're trying to alter our brain momentarily to pull ourselves away from the stress. And if that becomes effective chemically, the risk of addiction goes through the roof, absolutely through the roof. So if you, let's say, drink a beer and it does calm you down, it then becomes habitual. You've now created a pathway in your brain that says, oh, stress, beer. And I can have a beer or 2 or 6 or 20, and that will get me away from the stress. Then you've created a new habit. That's the issue. Addiction is continuous habit of needing that substance. So I know it's not easy, but avoiding these things permanently is the best advice when it comes to managing stress, because these things can cause stress. So even if you're not addicted to any substance and you are stressed and you're having a stressful week and you reach for the alcohol or you reach for a prescription drug or a non-prescription drug, these things create more stress. You're creating more neurological impulse in a negative way. So, number 2, avoid stressors and chemicals. Step away. We talked about that for a moment. Even for 5 minutes, step away. Make that a habit. This will become a positive habit. Unlike the chemicals that we can get addicted to, which is a negative habit, stepping away from work and from stress can become a habit. Every time something becomes too stressful or overloads, you can get up and walk away. Trust me, nobody can stop you from doing that. So do it. Number 4, read, walk, watch a movie. Make sure you make time for these things so that you have something. Maybe you're not looking forward to the walk, but at least it's something that is in your cycle, your weekly to-do and your daily to-do list that you're doing, and that's for yourself. People are like, I don't go for walks. I don't do anything. Get a dog. Get a bigger sized dog. Trust me, you'll have to go for walks, and they're wonderful to have around the house. But yeah, so number 4, read, walk, watch a movie. Number 5, meditation. Meditation has a bunch of views on this. Some people are like, I don't even know how to do it. Some people are like, what is it? Some people are like, that's hocus pocus. Some people are like, you're going to summon demons. No. Meditation is a moment of trying to establish balance and homeostasis in your mind, body and spirit. But I'm bringing the perspective of the mind, and it's very, very difficult to do. So if you're going to get into meditation, I say take some starter books. Online, you can find some easy stuff, some great YouTube videos. Dr. John DeMartini is one that's over the years has some great books on how to get started with meditation from a non-spiritual way, from a stress way, on how to sit down and really turn off the mind. It took me a really long time to even start meditating, to even know how to even get started. So don't get frustrated. You're gonna try and find a peaceful spot. You're gonna sit down, and you're gonna realize you can't go 3 seconds without a thought going through your head. And that's what meditation is. Can you truly quiet the mind while being awake to not even think? Because even when we fall asleep at night, we dream, right? Our subconscious is still going. The brain still goes. Physically, we shut down and we create a healing process. But in meditation, during the conscious state, if you can really turn off and learn that skill to turn off thoughts, even for 3 seconds, 13 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it may be, it's a huge skill to have, and it truly changes your physiological and chemical and physical properties in the moment. So you can actually decrease your blood pressure in that moment by meditating for those 10 seconds where you fall into a no thought, nothing, no movement state. That's what meditation is. Can you get into full control and peace of your body? Because you definitely know how to move it and use it. You do that every moment of your life. You get up, you do things, you get work done, you eat, you know how to use the body, but can you truly turn off the brain? That's what meditation is. So take a look at that. Number 6, plan. Planning gives you a sense of control. And we mean plan day by day. So plan your next day. A really good habit is the night before is to sit down and just plan your day. What things need to get done, write those down, and then the top priority things that need to get done go to the top of the list. Then you fit them into your schedule. If you got a family, there's the normal routine. Wake up, get dressed, get the kids in the car, pack lunches, get the backpacks, and feed everybody, get them in the car, drop them off at school, and then the top priority things get done. Eat lunch, go get the kids, come home, clean, do homework, yada yada, and then the top priority things. And the nice thing about listing your things in priority is that if you don't get them done, it's okay. Whatever you did get done is done, and then whatever is not done at night, you're going to do it again. And this takes 5 minutes. You sit down and you move the things from today that didn't get done to the next day, and those become top priority. Just any type of planning goes a long, long way. And it's been really useful in my life too. And it does bring you a sense of control, which brings a sense of calm, because then you know what to do. I don't know if you've ever been in a day where you're like, what do I do next? I know I'm so busy. I need to do stuff. And you get frozen. You're like, I don't even know what to do. What's on the list? Or I forgot. Or I know I should be busy and I'm not. And that creates panic because you're wasting time when things could have got done. And planning does a great thing for that. Number seven is ask for help. We are not good at that. Most people are just not good at that. We don't want to. We don't want to be indebted to anyone. We don't want to burden anyone. We don't want anyone to know we need help. There's many reasons why we don't ask for help. We feel like we don't have anyone to call. But you'd be surprised when you do make a call who's really willing to help. Most people are. The people that are going through your head right now that I know what you just did as you heard this is like, no, they won't. You thought of that person. You're like, they wouldn't help me. Well, that's not the person you call, right? We're not talking about those people. I just created a moment of stress for you with your family. But bypass that and other people that step up. It's been amazing, whether it's been in a serious need during maybe, a weather storm or whatever may have been happening there. But when you ask someone for help, what can happen? It's really cool what ends up happening and how people do step up and do help you. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And to really know and to make friendships and to make quality relationships with people, asking for help is one of the best tools you can use in your life, because the people who are willing to do that are probably going to end up being good friends to you and never ask for you to do anything back. But then you become someone that they can reach out to, and helping others feels pretty good too. So ask for help. Don't be shy. Eat well. I know this one, eating well, it's probably on every episode that we've done here, is like, make sure you eat well, make sure you have a good diet. And we're never going to stop telling you that, because it's the truth. If you don't eat well, you set yourself up for failure. And if you eat well, you give yourself a chance of success. So eating well is listening to your body and eating a whole food diet. I mean, there's so many fad diets out there. And when we say fad diets, it means that they fade in and out. They become popular. A book comes out, the guy's on Good Morning America or the gal's on Good Morning America. And then, 2 years later, well, what happened with that diet? Well, it's gone, because now there's a new girl that wrote a new book on, keto version 2. And that's why we call them fad diets. But all these diets are based on the same thing, a whole food base. It's a whole food base, fruits, vegetables, protein. That should be your diet. Anything that you add in above that or aside from that is unnecessary, and you're choosing to have it. You're choosing to have the cream, you're choosing to have the milk, you're choosing to have the cheese, you're choosing to have the sugar, you're choosing to have the whatever it may be, the baked goods. You're choosing to do that. But otherwise, if you just eat fruits, vegetables, and protein, you're getting all the nutrition that you need. And the key with sticking to that base is that you prevent and you pretty much minimize or eliminate inflammation, unless you're allergic to any type of food or fruit or vegetable. So eat well. I mean, we're going to say that every time. Get enough sleep. Pretty tough to do this one if you're stressed, because stress affects your sleep. But getting sleep is how you reverse aging. You don't reverse aging. You're still going to age, but you're going to slow down the aging process. You're going to increase the healing process. So sleep is so vital to the wellness and vitality of our lives. But when we're stressed, it becomes more difficult to sleep, and the more difficult sleep becomes, the more stressed we get. You see how you get locked into this negative feedback loop? This one's tough. So if you've listening to this podcast because it was titled Stress, and you're going through some major stress, you're probably rolling your eyes at this one saying, yeah, I know. You definitely have to address the stress to improve your sleep. And I hear you, and I feel you, and I understand where you're at with that one. But just reminding you that trying to get better sleep, and there's a sleep podcast you can listen to as well that we did about how to improve sleep and just making your sleeping quarters as set up for as best success as possible to get deeper sleep. But sleep is a big role in that. And supplements, number 10. I mean, just having the right supplements. There's a lot of supplements out there. There's a lot of stuff people don't need, honestly. It's a lot of stuff that's a waste of money. I'm just being honest. You don't need a bunch of supplements. You don't need to be taking vitamin C every day. I mean, that's unnecessary. You don't need to do that stuff. But there are supplements that do play a role in stress, believe it or not. There's some literature on that too. And being deficient in magnesium or zinc has been related and shown to have an effect on our stress response. Makes sense. If we don't have enough of something in our body, then when stress, then we're not fully equipped. We don't have the equipment to deal with stress when it comes on in the moment. So that makes sense. And those are the big two, magnesium and zinc, that come up with that. Now, if you're in a stressful time right now and you just swallow a bunch of magnesium, it's not going to decrease your stress. It's just going to help you adapt to stress more, but be careful how much you take. I mean, there should be about 100 milligrams per day as a supplement is good enough for magnesium. Stress, we deal with it every single day. There's positives and negatives, and it feels like there's way more negative stress than there is positive. But that's just because the negative stresses that affect our life are involuntary. We don't choose these things. And if you go back and look at your day and you're like, yeah, you're right, I didn't choose any of this and it's stressing me out. Yeah, you're right. That's why it's stressful. It's because you had no control on it and it's causing you stress. It's the positive stresses that we don't put much thought into and we don't make much time for. Exercise is big in our culture because fitness is. Not very many people are fit though. And there's a reason for that. We don't make time for it. And it's because of the way we look at this and where we value our time. And we value our time working. And people don't like hearing that. But if you're going to look at something and analyze anyone, you just tell them, where do you spend most of your time? And if you look at most people's lives, the number one thing they do is work. That's going to outweigh all the hours. If you add that up over a month, their work time outweighs all the other time that they do. Number two would probably be sleep, or should be sleep, the hours of sleep. So they value, this is just black and white analysis of someone's life. You say, let's add up all the hours in a month and let's see what you're doing with them. And almost everyone, number one is going to be their work. Number two is going to be sleep. And number three, believe it or not, is going to be screen time. Screen time. They're going to either watch TV, play on their phone, play on social media. That's going to be number three. For some people, this is scary. Number two is screen time, and number three is sleep. There you go, folks. If you want to look at the American statistics, that's where we're spending our time. Fitness, reading, watching movies, spending quality time with people we love is nowhere close to the top three. And, would you really want to spend 40 hours a week spending quality time with the people you love? I don't think I'd be hanging out with them for very long if that was the case, but we get it. You get the point, right? You get the point. And same, you can do this with your finances too. Tell me what you value in your life. Just get, I coach other entrepreneurs. And just send me your last two bank statements, your debit statements where you make purchases, like where you go to the grocery store and do all that stuff. And I'll just sit there and quickly add stuff, and I can tell them what they value. Some people come out like, man, you value your cars. They're like, well, no, I value my career and my family. No, you don't. You spend more on your car leases, these 3 car leases that you have. Why do you have 3 cars, first of all? And number two, you're spending $3,200 a month in car leases, and your groceries are $2,700 a month, and your mortgage is $1,300 a month. So, your home is not even as important as your cars. And then you dissect that, and of course they get apprehensive. Like, wait, no, I don't love my cars more. I didn't say you love your cars more than you love your family or your home. I'm saying you prioritize this. And then we dig into that, and boy, is that fun. But we prioritize and we value the things that we spend energy towards. And money is energy. So wherever you're spending your money and your time is what you value. So just prioritize that. Plan your days ahead of time. Plan what you need to get done. It's going to make you more productive. And that's just the only way to adapt to stress. And see how I said adapt. You're never going to manage stress because you're never going to get those ducks in a row. And you're never going to beat stress. You're never going to win that battle. Don't think about that. You're going to adapt. And in order to adapt to stress, you have to be the best version of yourself. The bigger the giant you are, the smaller the stress will look. And then that's it. That's what stress is all about. Stay well, stay healthy. We're always here for you. Find us on our handles, on our social media. We always pump out good content. And thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Living a Full Life podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.